Good morning, buenos dias. Thank you for all of you joining us today. Good morning, Carlos. Thank you for joining us. I hope you all are hanging in there, staying positive and focusing on what you can control. And I hope you have your cafecito, your coffee ready to go. My name is Patricia Mota, CEO for HACE, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, leading our mission to positively impact the workplace by cultivating the pipeline of Latino talent. And this month, we are celebrating with others across the country, across the globe, Happy Black History Month. This year, we are all leading at the intersection of identity, equity, and unity, embracing our intersectional identities, meeting individuals where they are at, and promoting support across communities. Today, we have as our special guest, Carlos Cubia, who is the Senior Vice President, Global Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer at Walgreens Boots Alliance. Good morning, Carlos. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Patricia? Good to see you again.
It's good to see you too. It's been a while, huh?
It has been.
I was just thinking, I was like, when's the last time I saw Carlos? And I had that nice memory of the All-Star, the NBA All-Star networking event that we were at, which was such a good time. Look forward to doing that when we're able to. Our first question for our guest, Carlos, because this is Cafecito con HACE, is how do you like your coffee prepared, or what's your morning beverage choice?
Well, I know this is a coffee event, but I have never had coffee a day in my life. So my morning beverage is a Dr. Pepper, ice cold, every morning.
Wow, never? Not even once? A sip?
Not even a sip.
Don't like the smell, or just...
You know what? People ask me that all the time, but I just never been motivated. Everyone around me drinks coffee. My kids love Starbucks and I've never had coffee. So my drink of choice is Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper, always something new. I love hearing everybody's perspectives about this. How about, tell us a little bit about your background. You're leading, Walgreens is a phenomenal partner of HACE for many, many years, headquartered here in Illinois. And there's been a lot of great strides. Let's learn about your own professional and background and how you got to where you are today.
Wow. So I'll give you the very abbreviated version. So I was a criminal justice pre-law major in college. My goal was to go into federal law enforcement. That's always what I wanted to do. Family, that's federal law enforcement. My college roommate, my best man at my wedding, they're all either Secret Service, DEA, FBI. They're all federal law enforcement. And that was my dream, to do that. Came out of school, got a job making what I thought was a amazing salary, and never looked back to federal law enforcement because I know they don't make a lot of money. It's a prestigious role. They just don't make a lot of money. But I've always had a knack to fight for other people, to be a voice for other folks, to try to undo wrongs. So I ended up today doing that in the seat of a chief diversity officer, for giving a voice to those that often doesn't have a voice. So my career over the 20-something or 30-something years that I've been in corporate America, that's what I've been doing, just fighting for others and trying to be a voice for others.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And I think in this particular type of role, right, you have to have that wanting to serve and that mission-oriented drive, right? It's so key. And you recently released an article, right? And it was titled "The Moments We're In." Yeah. And you referenced a lot of key turning points that have happened, not only, specifically to the Black community and the history and the moment with what we're celebrating this month, but as we should celebrate year round, right? But Walgreens just was Rosalind Brewer, right? The first and the only Black woman to lead a Fortune 500 company, is now the CEO for Walgreens. And Valerie Jarrett, which is a leader from our hometown here in Chicago, serving on the board of directors. So two key Black women in these leadership prominent positions. What can you share with your reflection and the key points that you mentioned in that article?
Well, when we're putting the article together, it really centered around, how, and you've heard this for years, Black History Month should be 365. I mean, celebrating Black history should be an everyday thing. But while we chose February, many, many years ago, it was deemed as the month to celebrate and amplify Black history. Phone just rang. Can you hear me?
Yes, we lost you for a second.
Yeah, my phone rang, and that's gonna be a.
Tell him to stop calling, Carlos. Right now, it's not at the time. And if you all, the article that he's referencing can be found. So I found it on LinkedIn, but I'm sure if you also Google the moment we're in and Walgreens, it'll come up. And you can also, follow Carlos on LinkedIn as well. So we'll wait till he's able to rejoin us. So thank you. We have a comment. Yes, it is. She is the only Black woman leading a Fortune 500 company. It also demonstrates, right, the need, and I think that's out there to ensure that we have more people of color leading Fortune 500 companies, but also in the leadership ranks within these organizations. So all of you all tuning in, please send in your comments, continue to share any questions that you have, as we'll have a chance once hopefully we get Carlos back to rejoin us. So let me hear from you until we wait until Carlos to rejoin us. Thank you, Vanessa. So Vanessa posted the article there that specifically talks about some of these key milestones that Walgreens as a company has accomplished this past year. Being that it is Black History Month and such a key moment as well. Another key thing is ACE being a Latino serving organization, it's imperative that we understand the intersectional identities that we as a community represent. And we do have, as per the US Census, that 25% identify as Afro-Latino in the United States. And so we have Carlos back.
Yeah, I'm so sorry
about the article, and we just were able to share it on with the community that's tuning in now.
Yeah, so I heard your question, and I think it's a great question. So my approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion is first to make sure everybody understands that it's not just about race and ethnicity. It's about all the dimensions of diversity, whether it's age, gender, background, religion, you name it, all of the different dimensions. But what we are seeing right now, because of the George Floyd situation and everything that's happened over the last year, the Black and brown community has been amplified and elevated and magnified in terms of, if you think about, a block full of houses, and you got a Black house, a brown house, and a bunch of other color houses. The houses that are on fire right now are the Black and brown houses, and that's what need the water hose, right? So folks say, well, why are you just focusing on these two areas? Because with the pandemic, with racial equity, Black and brown communities are being disproportionately impacted in a negative way. And so we need to turn the attention to these two communities right now. So you ask about Roz Brewer, you asked about Valerie Jarrett. One of the things that we've been preaching for the last 3 years is if you don't diversify your organization and your organization doesn't reflect the community, then you can't be in touch and connect with that community. So we've created an environment over here at Walgreens Boots Alliance that allows us and has created an environment that has allowed us to make decisions like a Roz Brewer and a Valerie Jarrett and a Pamela Purrier, who's our new global chief human resources officer. So, when we elevate women, there's 3 women in very high leadership positions over here that are helping to shape the future of this organization. And I'm very excited about the moves that the company has made.
Yeah, no, as partners of Walgreens too, we're thrilled and we're excited about that because, to your point, to add on to your points, right, research has shown that then there's women, people of color in leadership ranks. Not only does it contribute to the overall business financially, right, but the people aspect is so key. When you have individuals within your organization that can see themselves reflected in leadership, that is empowering, right? And so that's so critical to ensure that we're doing.
I just want to say something earlier, and I was going to chime in, and I think the statement that you opened with around Ms. Brewer, she's the only current African American, not the first. We had Ursula Burns, and so she's not the first, but she's the first to lead the first to lead a Fortune 50 company. So we are right now on the Fortune 100. We're number 30. So that is the largest organization for a African-American woman. So she's leading the largest organization of any African-American woman in history at this point.
Amazing. And Carlos, let's talk about, you specifically being a leader in corporate America and as a Black male in corporate America. What does that mean to you personally?
I think it's a responsibility to make sure, and this is going to sound very familiar, that I'm not the only one. You know, as you heard Kamala Harris say, and that I'm not the last one.
Yeah.
Throughout my career, Patricia, I've had the benefit and the privilege of having some pretty high profile positions, right? And each time I was sitting in the room alone, looking around me saying, who can I connect with? Who can I share my challenges with? And never really found that. And as I moved through my career, there started to be more and more and more, and that's rewarding. There should be no, I mean, maybe you take pride in being the first, but you shouldn't take pride in being the only. And I don't ever want to be the only one in any room. So my goal is to make sure that I'm creating opportunities for others, that I'm pulling other people up, that I'm pushing people forward, and I'm creating opportunities. And that means for all of the areas of the dimension that I'm responsible for.
Wonderful. And, you know, one of the other key things is keeping, you mentioned, right, with the murder of George Floyd, and really DEI really focusing on Black and Latinx community, because the gap has widened even further, right? We've already, and so there's such a need. Thank you, Gloria. That's the kind of leadership I'm looking for to partner in serving my community. So if we have any questions, we'll probably have time for one or two, or any comments, please share them. Carlos, I think with this year and the momentum that not only Walgreens, what advice do you have, let's say, for those within their organizations? There's a lot of new that are getting started with their DEI efforts. What advice, what's one or two things that you would recommend?
So I'm going to give you two pieces. One would be to be bold, right? And we're living in a time right now where your voice matters. This is the time to speak up and be heard, and just deal with the consequences. And I know that sounds like, man, that could be risky, but there's penalties for being silent, right? Or silent. So I think you need to be bold. You need to speak up, and if that puts you in a compromising position, make sure whatever you're speaking up for is something that's worth the risk that you're taking. Okay. You know, think about, and this may, you know, we're in Black History Month, but Rosa Parks. I'm not giving up my seat. I'm just not. I'm tired. I paid the same money that you paid to be on this bus. I'm just not doing it. And the consequences was being arrested, taken to jail. But she said it's time to stand up and be heard. And because she did that, led to the bus boycott and led to them, you know, desegregating the buses, and you can sit anywhere on buses. But too often we remain silent because we don't want to upset the status quo. And I think the times we're living in is not a moment anymore. It's a movement. This is the time to speak up. I speak up every day. And if I lose my job, or if I'm forced to go find another job, I'm confident that I'll find one. But my voice has to be heard.
So we have one question. Thank you, Carlos, from Diego. So he's talking about networking in terms of key to opportunity and growing within a company. What would be your perspective on that?
I think networking is key. And I think building your own board of advisors is key. So that means people that are on your same level, people that are probably at levels below you, but people that can motivate and stimulate you to do more. It doesn't always come from the top. I find myself, and I know probably some of my leaders may be listening on this call, but managing up. You know, there are things that we need to get done. So sometimes you have to manage up. So I think my advice is, again, you got to network. You got to build your board of directors. You got to build your board of advisors. And these are folks that's going to keep motivating you and pushing you forward. If you don't have that, then you're out on an island. But networking.
Yeah. All right, some great tips. So we're going to take one more question. And this is, as an individual contributor, how can I contribute to creating a more diverse workforce in my organization?
By educating others. So educating them on the value of it. There's a quote that I say, any opportunity I get, it's something my mom used to say, and it's, minds are like parachutes. They don't work unless you open them, right? So think about trying to open other people's minds to the value of your differences. Whether you're an independent contributor or you manage a team of 100, try to educate people on the value of differences and how it can benefit them.
Thank you, Carlos. So I think great tips. Be bold, be courageous, right? I think we all have fear. It's about, you know, taking action anyway, despite the fear, managing up and being strategic with your network. and ensuring that we are taking action. So one last question for you, Carlos, is what are you most hopeful for or positive story for this year?
That we can get as many people vaccinated as possible and that we can come out of this vaccine. One of the things we're working on right now is vaccine hesitancy, and that's educating people on the value and the efficacy and the safety of the vaccine, because if we don't get this vaccine distributed across the globe, we're never going to come out of this lockdown that we're in. So that I'm hopeful that that's going to happen this year.
Let's get vaccinated, everyone. I'm waiting for mine and encouraging everyone too. Thank you, Carlos, for joining us. Thank you for all of you tuning in. Have an amazing day, and until next time.
Thank you.
Bye, Carlos. Thank you. Bye.